So, which is the new So is the new My name is Chris Martin, and we do a series of interviews with comedians, conversations called Smokin' Hot, Conversations with Comedians. This particular one is being taped on July the 4th, 2010. Our subject is Andrew Pauley, and we're going to ask him the usual suspecting questions. What got you into comedy, stand-up comedy? We don't do no improv here. We don't do no sketch comedy. We just do straight-up stand-up. Take it away, Andrew.
I've always loved comedy. When my parents gave me a bunch of their records and their old turntable, and there was like Steve Martin records and Richard Pryor and Rodney Dangerfield, and even as a kid I just listened to them and loved them, and I've always wanted to do stand-up, and I was always afraid to, and I had a couple friends who were like, you should try it, and I gave it a shot. My grandfather, right when I graduated college, he said something about, I just hope you find something that you love doing and that you do it the best you can. And I said, well, maybe I should finally give stand-up a shot. So I have, and so far it's been okay.
So that was the thought bomb that exploded in your head that got you past that initial reluctance?
Yeah. It's kind of, you can be afraid, or you can live, so I'm trying to live.
Hero dies but one death. The coward dies 1,000 deaths. Blah 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 blah.
There you go.
What was your first time you did it? When was the first time you did it?
June something of this year, at the Richmond Clash of the Comics. I didn't realize there were so many open mics and little things around the city. So the Clash is a pretty big deal, and I was really unprepared, and I got a couple of laughs, but it was not very good, and but I kept plugging at it, and then I went to Cafe Diem the next week, and I did a lot better, and ever since then I've just kind of gotten submerged in it. But
well, as I say in the industry, I guess you bombed. What made you keep going despite your initial thing at the Clash of the Comics?
I guess just this idea that, when I did get some laughs at the Clash. Overall, it was.
So it wasn't a total deafening
No.
silence.
I got some laughs, and those laughs were. When I got the first laugh, I was like, okay, this is it. This is like the best feeling, making a bunch of people laugh. That's the best thing you can do, and. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna give up just yet, And I read some things that said, that most people absolutely suck their first time, and don't let that be a deterrent. And I didn't, so just kept going.
So would you say it's addictive, or?
Absolutely. There's nothing really going on tonight that I can do, and I'm going to be bored out of my mind. I want to be on stage. I think if I could, I'd probably be on stage 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah, you have to go to New York for that.
Yeah, but then you gotta live in New York.
And you gotta pay to live in New York.
Yeah.
Well,
monetarily and otherwise.
We might have to pause this if this gentleman decides to crank up his car, which is okay because I have a convenient pause button, which I haven't used. We're getting really high tech here now. Pausing instead of stopping and then uploading 2 segments because I'm too lazy to splice them together in some kind of program. But yeah, I think that the industry phrase would be crickets is what you encountered first, your first time out, or some crickets.
Yeah, some, and I was just terrified, and I was unprepared, and the light was bright. There was a lot of people, and it was more. I was scared going up, and I was more scared when I got up there. But you get that first laugh, and or at least in my case, I was hooked. So keep at it, keep plugging away.
Well, join the crowd. The cliche is that it's in the top 5 or top 10 fears. Public speaking. So you're not alone when it comes to that.
I suffer from like pretty fairly intense like social anxiety. So it's like it's not even so much the fear of public speaking. It's like actually kind of a fear of like or a discomfort around people in general. So it's kind of that's an interesting twist on it. It's kind of craving to be out in front of and communicate with people, yet it's kind of like innate discomfort or irrational fear of it too. But I love it.
A lot of comedians are introverts, so I don't think that's unusual. But I don't know you that well, but it doesn't seem the classic cliche about comedians is they're trying to get attention, but it seems to me that it doesn't seem to me that you're trying to get attention. I mean, you're not a class clown. You're not acting out to get people to look at you or whatever.
No, in school I was very quiet. I was a good student. I got in a little bit of trouble in school at times, but I've always been a pretty reserved person, pretty shy, introverted.
You mentioned that talking about being good at things, you feel like this is something that you're good at, as opposed to some other things you've tried, maybe like music or.
Yeah, this is, to be honest, this is the first thing that I found that I'm really, with trying to be, not a complete ass, so that I feel like I'm pretty good at, and it's also something I've always wanted to do. I love music, but, I'm kind of an average musician, I can't dance at all, I can't, lots of, like, creative things that are appealing, fine arts or whatever. They're appealing, but I don't have any aptitude for it. But this is the thing I've really always wanted to do, and for once I'm actually good at that. It feels good to be good at something, I guess.
So is the new one. Pause. Awkward sounds. So what would you say you're doing? You're not trying to get attention. Well, we've discussed this before. It's for you. It's more like a craft, a discipline, an art form. You're expressing yourself.
Yeah, I like.
Any or all of those. Pick one from column A, one from column B.
Yeah, I like write. I've always liked writing, and I like humor. So writing humor is fun. Making people laugh has always been fun. Doing it with a captive audience, with a spotlight on you and your voice amplified, and trying to engage people is fun. I like to write jokes that are maybe a little bit of like a puzzle, like maybe it's not quite so obvious, but like what the point of the joke is, or maybe the punchline takes a minute or two. Like I kind of get a kick out of writing a joke that doesn't get a laugh immediately, but 2 or 3 seconds later, then there's a pretty good laugh, in response to it. So it's almost kind of so far it's kind of like trying to one-up myself, like, just trying to be clever and trying to make a better joke than I did last week or something like that.
Well, I would say your humor is intelligent, cerebral. You're not going for belly laughs. You're going for more intellectual. And who would you say would be your influences, or who you respect as a comedian, whichever works for you?
Well, as far as respect, I think I respect anybody that goes up there and try and makes a solid attempt to make people laugh and do it in an original way and have their own voice. The ones that I've always liked are George Carlin and I like Richard Pryor. I like.
Let's read off the list.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Martin, Bill Hicks, Stephen Wright, Mitch Hedberg, Emo Phillips, Jimmy Carr, the Marx Brothers, and Mel Brooks.
Yeah, all those guys say.
Those guys.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah.
What he said.
What he said.
So what are you've been in it for how long now? RVA, comedy scene,
A month.
CVA, Central Virginia, a month.
Yeah, a month.
So do you have any thoughts so far?
About the scene?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was surprised how supportive the scene is. I think maybe you don't find that in like the from what I understand, you don't find that in maybe the larger hubs, major cities. But it's a large enough city that there's something going on a lot. But people are really welcoming and willing to give you advice. There's a couple of guys with a lot of experience, who I respect a lot, who gonna almost kind of like every show I go to, or they'll call me or send me a message and kind of taking me under their wing or whatever. Just giving advice and helping me with jokes or set lists or those kind of things. Just learning how the whole process works.
Let's pause.
Station identification.
So we're gonna take it from the top because we, at least on the question of what are your thoughts on the RVA comedy scene, because there was a lot of crosstalk in the background.
Everybody's been really supportive in the scene, and like I said, there's a couple guys in particular, but other people in general who
Mentors?
Yeah, like kind of mentors and looking out for me and kind of saying, this is kind of how comedy works, and this is how jokes work, and this is how this is how you put a set together, and this is these are the do's and don'ts of comedy, and if you need, if you're looking for time, go here or go there, or hey, we're taking a trip to Newport News to do an open mic down there. Let's all go. Just pretty much, if you're, I feel like I've been pretty enthusiastic and pretty willing to kind of put myself out there, and I think especially if you're like that, there's seems like there's lots of people who are willing to help you out as much as you're willing to take, which is great. It's awesome.
Well, it's good or fortuitous that you came along when you did, because last year it was the clash of the comics, and that's it. And then Sticky Rice came along, and Sticky Rice begat Cafe Diem, and sort of mushroomed or multiplied from there. So there's been a lot going on, but back then there wouldn't have been much to clue you in on, because I guess you could have gone to Kazi's. But I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's much going on in Charlottesville. I'm not sure, I'm not up on the history of Charlottesville comedy, but I think that's kind of blossomed in parallel to Richmond. So your opportunities would have been possibly more limited. Stephen Bryant, where's it, Bryant? I have Alzheimer's, I don't care. Who moved to Philadelphia, but was very active in the comedy scene in Richmond. Used to go up to Washington, D.C., but he said there wasn't as much of a community feeling up there as there is and Travis Charles used to go up to D.C. a lot. But around here, there really wasn't that much. So what would you say your comedy goals are? What would you like to do? What would you like to accomplish with comedy? Specifically, do you have any specific goals, or just want to make a living touring?
Yeah, my goal is to be
get on HBO.
No, my real goal is to be a completely self-supporting comic, so that I don't have to do any other kind of work, where I can just get paid for doing comedy. I don't really care so much about things that I guess that are pretty, a lot of people kind of would set as goals, like maybe getting on TV or being on HBO or Comedy Central or anything like that. So, anything like that would be awesome, but that's not really. I just want to be able to do it for a living and do the best that I could possibly do at it. Like push whatever talents I have or whatever capabilities I have is far as I can. So when it's time for me to kick the bucket or whatever, I can say, okay, well, I was able to do this and I did the best I could. You know, that's what I'd like to do.
Makes sense to me. Can you think of anything else you want to address, talk about? CBS cares. I just want everybody to know that.
I wish there were more like comedy groupies, you know.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty here.
Yeah, like.
Or as Mandy Statmiller at the New York Post calls them, and because there are people around us who may or may not appreciate the use of explicit language, who knows? I can't read their mind. Chuckle effers.
Yeah. No, there's like, you know, even like local musicians and stuff. They get all kinds of girls, but
I had a good-looking blonde come up to me at Cafe Diem and say, you know, you done really good, but that didn't result in any.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'd hit that, I'd tap that, whatever, but.
Yeah, it's like, you know.
It's like, I can't get off on, you know, like you did. You were really funny. It's like, okay. Now will you sleep with me?
Yeah, it's like, hey, I made people laugh up there. I made people laugh. Doesn't that do anything for you? But no, that's not.
I'm certainly not an expert on that. I will say that, well, Jason Klingman works in the restaurant industry, and he doesn't. He has a rule of thumb or a rule of something, rule of penis, that he doesn't do people he works with. So. You know, they're just friends, but he always has some, but they're not comedy groupies. I guess they're friends of Jason.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the closest I've ever
That's what everybody
seen.
says when they try and they can't get you to sleep with them. Like, oh, I don't sleep with people I work with. You would if you could.
Well, Kelly Anderson has a rule. She does, you know, she doesn't date, and we're not. I mean, we're not gonna suggest that Kelly sleeps with anybody, but she doesn't date comedians, which I probably a good rule of thumb, because they're all neurotic bastards.
They are.
That's like Louis C.K. Divorced, 2 kids. You know that.
Successful?
Well, I guess it all depends on how you define success.
Well, look at go to any comedy club on any given night and listen to you know, X amount of comics that are up there, and then you know, think about yourself. Like, if I'm an eligible woman, is this the kind of person that I would be attracted to? Like, yeah, they're funny, but listen to what they're talking. Like, listen to their the subject content that they're talking about. I mean, I think maybe if I was trying to get girls, I would probably tailor my set to be a lot better. But you're not going to be very funny if you're talking about how great you are and that you have a great car and how, you know, if you're all have good muscles and great bone structure and all that stuff.
Well, Blake Midget has a line. He says jugglers get more. What's a politically correct term? Action, yes, more action. In fact, Jay Moore, who is a stand-up comedian and used to be the host of Last Comic Standing, which is as close as we'll get to discussing Last Comic Standing today. You think we're getting the soccer ball in the background?
I don't think it's today.
Okay. Did a late lamented TV series called Action, but Blake Midget has a line about if he wanted to get more action, he'd be like a street musician or a juggler.
Yeah.
He's probably right. Which again, there are a lot of the classic line about musicians is that's why they're in it. They're in it to get girls. That's what Billy Joel said. Whatever, but you know, it's sort of like long way. If you want it, my feeling is if you want to get women, go get women. I mean, it's like that's the long way around. Long story short, more comedy geometry. You know, if you're interested in pursuing women, pursue women, but probably comedy is not the route to go. It's like
It's definitely not.
I'm not sure what career involves beating them off with a baseball bat, but it's probably not comedy.
Being good looking.
Well, there are good looking. There are good looking, and I want to stress for the camera and for the microphone that I am 100% heterosexual, but there are good looking comedians, men, in comedy, in Richmond, and out. I mean, I don't think they look bad. And they bathe regularly, too, so far as I know.
Well,
But
they may date often. I don't know if they date regularly.
But, so, some of them, I name no names, and then some of them are ugly as sin or whatever. But, yeah,
Excuse me.
don't do it for the women.
Absolutely not.
Do it because it's a life-changing career that will solve all the problems of the world, bring about world peace, and end world hunger. We're getting a little punch drunk here, so I think we're reaching the end of this.
Yeah. He's gone from
Something to do
Sam
with-
Kinison to Bill Hicks, I think.
Yeah, this
Pretty
is
sure.
like it's in the San Pellegrino.
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to what this sounds like. So it's like hypothermia or hypoglycemia or whatever. So this is the 4th of July, and this is an interview called Smokin' Hot. Oh, how appropriate. It's Richmond, Virginia, which is smoking hot, and we're going to have a lot of smoking hot fireworks tonight. And this is a conversation with a comedian by name Andrew Pauley. Say goodbye, Andrew.
Goodbye, Andrew.
Good night, America, and all the ships at sea. To our vast North American listening and viewing audience. And the sound you hear in the background is somebody kicking a soccer ball around because he's got World Cup fever.
Or narcolepsy.
Yeah, one or the other.
Good night.